Welcome to The Hardest Part, where we go behind the scenes on the hardest songs artists have ever had to write, produce, perform, and record. I'm Kieran Banerjee, and my guest on this edition is Young the Giant.
Young the Giant, thanks for joining us in The Hardest Part.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Perfect, so the audience are about to hear the amazing session you just did for us. Can you tell us about the song, why you brought it?
So this song was written probably about a little over 2 years ago. We actually wrote it in Los Angeles, and it has that distinction of being, I think, one of the only songs on the record that wasn't written on these writing retreats that we did in Idyllwild and in Joshua Tree, kind of in the desert in the mountains. It sort of shows like this need to focus on taking time for yourself and removing yourself from sort of the everyday, hustle and bustle. Like when we first met, being in a band and being together, like that was all we did. We lived in the same place. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment when we first got signed, all 5 of us. It was awful, but we had so much fun. And then we were in a van and trailer for a couple years, just spending so much time together. And then as life happens and as obligations and families and all these other things, which are wonderful, start to take over, it's really important to be able to find that time to reconnect and to focus in. And I think it's kind of something that I've found as I've entered my 30s and gone through a couple of my 30s. You need to find that time for yourself. It's not as natural. Like if you want to maintain relationships and you want to maintain all of these things that were sort of just kind of came easily when you were younger, you need to really focus in on that type of stuff. And I think this song was kind of that realization that it's kind of difficult to write when we all have, we have to go pick up our kids, or we have to worry about something's wrong at the house, or all that type of stuff. And it really drove home that point that let's take this time to concentrate our writing sessions and just be together. And that's where the rest of the album really started to flourish.
So much of this process of this record was like this kind of energetic songwriting that was kind of, we weren't working against ourselves. We were trying to just go with the flow of the song. I think what he was talking about was like the challenge of, finding that flow state when we're in LA. And I think this particular song, we kind of, for the other rest of the record, we kind of forced ourselves out. We removed ourselves from the space. I think this song reminded us that that mindset is something that can be achieved at home. It's a little bit harder to do, but this song was like the last song that we wrote at our band house. We bought a house together really to try and figure all this stuff out. What Fran was talking about, every record's kind of like a thesis. So around 2019, we bought that house and we wrote American Bollywood, our 5th album there. And then kind of found it difficult to kind of get through that block. And, but it was kind of a nice way to say goodbye to that place.
I mean, we have never had this story sort of on the show before, right? So you're all living in a house you all bought together.
Well, no.
We didn't live there.
You didn't live there? Okay. Yeah. You rented out a house?
Yeah, we bought a house.
We bought a house together, yeah.
Yeah, to build as a kind of our headquarters and a writing place, place to record demos and whatnot. And we found that as we were trying to write there, it would be kind of 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. So it was kind of like, we'd get there and maybe within a 2-hour span, someone would have to go do something because our lives were so intertwined, it's our home. So, and this whole record is about, Victory Garden is about this idea of breakthrough, this idea of your podcast and the difficulties, whether it's writer's block or whatever it is. For us, I think this record was about, and this particular song was really about getting back to the joy of creating together as friends, and all 5 of us together in a space. That's why we did these writing retreats, to get back to that almost like younger version of ourselves. And Different Kind of Love was one of these songs where we all met at the band house, and Fran had this melody idea that ended up being the bridge and outro chant. And then we each kind of brought our own flavor. I think, we all kind of, as we were writing the song, melodies and lyrics came together quickly that day. And it was one of these songs that I'd say came together in a really beautiful way the first day we did it.
Yeah.
But it took us a while to figure out, to crack the code. It's kind of like structurally, whereas I think the original version, it wasn't the exact structure. We had to kind of, maneuver things around, and it took us a while before we landed on, for example, the intro being a broken down version of the chorus, or the bridge outro being the chant and then coming back with the chorus. It's really us like moving around, and it took a lot of time for that aspect of it. But yeah, the record is about that breaking through our adult jadedness or struggle, anxiety, depression, and getting back to like the attempt to get back to like the joy of being a child, viewing the world through a child. All these guys have young children, so that fed into that.
Probably helped.
Yeah, helped for sure. There's huge inspiration on the record. Was these guys' kids? I have nieces and nephews, just viewing the world through that lens.
Cage, a record here. I'm hanging from a chandelier. I have a dream I disappeared, but I woke up. I can't take the mind control. My heart, my body tells me no. You told me once, not long ago, but
Take us into the studio with Young the Giant. How do songs start? And talk us through that process you went through with this track.
I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, so we've tried just about everything. I think what was interesting about this sixth record is probably the closest to the first record in terms of process, where we would just get together, all of us in a room, jam, and then there's a little spark of something that everyone kind of gravitates towards, and that's when you develop it and start to work on it. I mean, for American Bollywood, we wrote that during COVID, so we all had our own sort of satellite studios, and we were doing kind of like the Postal Service thing, where someone would work on a song and he sent it over, and it yielded some pretty interesting results, but it felt, kind of fragmented. And so there was a huge intention behind getting back into a room together. Typically it'll start with a riff or a beat or a melody, and then there's 5 of us and we really love to collaborate, so then it's like you just kind of throw everything at it, and then if it stands up on its own after that, you move on to the next step, and then sometimes you just end up with a demo on a hard drive, and it takes years to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like I think that the high of being in the studio, that is what you're chasing, like that, the fever dream of like writing a good song.
Yeah.
Because you kind of just come out on the other end of it and be like, oh wow. And it's hard to really kind of explain like what happened exactly. But it's just kind of everyone spitballing off of each other.
Yeah, this particular song, Different Kind of Love, I remember, I feel like the first thing was we all kind of ended up, we shuffle in, we get our coffees and whatnot, and Fran sat down on the piano. We had a piano that was lent to us for a few years from a producer we had worked with on our last couple records, John Hill. Lent us this really old piano, this upright piano, and just a little out of tune, kind of jangly, and Fran just sat down and started playing these chords and had this melody, the I'ma be okay, this part. And that's that initial spark. That was like, this is cool, what are you doing? And oh, I was just thinking about this on the drive, whatever. And then the bouncing off each other starts happening for this particular song. It was, let's figure out a B section to that, let's figure out chords for a verse. And it's so many things at once, because there's 5 of us for this particular record. Like one of the guys was saying earlier, it's like, it is really that return to this first record, except this is our 6th record.
Yeah.
So we're just a lot more better at it, and we've tried so many angles of songwriting. So many different instruments have started songs. And this particular record, it was really a lot of bouncing off each other. And that particular song really lived in the demo in a certain way for a long time, and then we started working with producer Brendan O'Brien, who co-produced the record with us, and we really looked to him as a mentor, and he helped us kind of take it from that, 75-80% of the demo or whatever, and And even with the song structure side of it, you know, he's an old school producer, so he's not just an engineer-minded producer setting up mics and getting great sounds. He is that as well, but he's also an incredible musician, amazing ear for a great song, and also just like someone who keeps the energy, the momentum going in the studio. Where when we were working with him, we told him we're five guys. We tend to go in and overthink sometimes, and we want to break through that. We want to be present, we want to be quick in recording, and I think we recorded the whole record in about 3 weeks, and he just kept the ball rolling, kept the energy high, the momentum, and we feel like it's a great representation of us. We've always wanted to capture our live performances. A lot of people will come and see us live and say, oh man, I love your record, but seeing it live was really, really special. And so this record, I feel like, is almost maybe the closest to capturing that live energy.
When you're looking for a producer, is that mainly what you're looking for then? You're looking for someone to help you sort of unblock and keep things rolling while you can think about nothing like that?
I think it's different every time. Like, all of us are producers in our own right, and I think I used the metaphor of, you know, we'd taken a lot of selfies, I think, of ourselves and had used demos as the skeleton for songs for, you know, essentially from Home of the Strangers, our third record, fourth and fifth record. And then we were like, you know what, I think it's time for someone we really trust to take a great, you know, portrait of us and really trust in that person. And we met with a bunch of amazing producers, and just Brennan's whole vibe was exactly what we were looking for. I mean, he'd worked on Springsteen, done Soundgarden, done Pearl Jam, done Rage Against the Machine, all amazing bands that he'd managed to capture that sound and that feeling. And that's what we were looking for this particular time.
Yeah, a great producer is like a little bit of a therapist, I think, and they're able to get you to sort of unlock that potential. In our case, the people that we've worked well with are almost like marriage counselors, because there's so many, you know, like disparate voices at once. And having someone like Brendan, who is so focused on momentum, was kind of the key that unlocked it for us.
Yeah, for 5 voices, that needs to have one unified output as well, right? Like it's an art in itself, yeah.
For sure, and someone that we really trust. Like someone that person needs to be someone we really trust. And Brendan's someone who's worked with so many bands, so many incredible bands. And that's, I don't want to say a dying art. You know, there's a lot of amazing producers who work with bands, but I think just by nature, the advancement of technology, kind of everyone can be a producer, etc. I think there was a real a desire from us as a band to work with someone who has so much experience working with bands and capturing the energy of multiple people in a room, because the whole ethos of the record was about, you know, us getting back to our friendship and community and being in the same room together. And you can imagine, like, so many people and creatives in general through COVID felt that isolation. Of course, we were trying to have this come together moment. And we just, I mean, I remember listening to The Rising when I was a kid by Bruce Springsteen, and how much energy was captured in those recordings, and just thinking, oh wow, like, I'd love if this band was just captured in a room all together and in our own way. I think he really did a good job.
It's interesting, actually, the more artists I speak to about that, and they're putting so much more time and resource into the producer role now, because people have sort of, with the advancement of technology, forgotten about that soft skill, that soft power that comes within a producer, which is you know, where a lot of the magic happens.
Absolutely.
Living in a house that's not your home. Living on a prayer you used to know. Giving to the weight, but don't let go. Don't let go. We could be forever, not just once. We could have a different kind of love. Giving to the weight, but
So we finish this interview with same question every time, and it comes from a place where a band I really like, new record came out, everyone said it was their best album. I listened to it, I didn't agree with that, and everyone said listen to this one particular track, that was actually my least favourite of them. And then straight after listening to it, I heard an interview with the lead singer talking about these small nuances in his vocal performance, and he picked out on a couple lyrics as well, told me about the meaning of the song, and it became my favourite song of theirs forever now. And I think that's what I love so much about these interviews, right? You get to sit down with an artist and talk about all these nuances which people aren't always privy to. So, you know, our audience are about to hear the amazing session you just did for us. What should they be listening out for? Is there any little nugget in there that's going to change the way they experience the track?
I mean, I think that is very important, you know, the dressing behind everything. But for us, it's also, you know, what it should be at face value. With every record, we've kind of evolved and become more elegant with like an intention. I think throughout this record, it was instinctive songwriting as well as instinctive arrangement and instrumentation. So like everything that is in there, we're not going in and being like, oh, well, how do we want this to sound like someone else? How do we want to change this? It was kind of like the first instinct of where we would go. And I think that this song, you know, definitely captures that.
Yeah, there's the lyric for that chant, I'm gonna be okay, I go all the way down. Like for me, what it meant is like once you strip away everything and you find yourself kind of struggling for maybe meaning, those are the times where you have the most personal growth, I think. And so after COVID and after just, it was a tough time to be an artist. You know, you really are in a position where you're questioning everything. We hadn't gone that long without touring since we were teenagers. And so there was all that stuff associated with it. And for me, that's what that lyric kind of encapsulates. I love that when you put a song out, that song now belongs to people who are listening to it, and they can add their own meaning, but that's what that lyric means to me.
One thing I'd add is this song and this record, kind of as we've discussed, going back to the ethos of the first album, or just us being kids again, or viewing the world of that lens. There's some Easter eggs lyrically on this particular song. I believe in the second verse, Samir says
First verse, yeah.
My body tells me no. My body tells me no is a lyric from our first first single from our first record, My Body, the song My Body. So we had a slightly different version of it, and it was like, wait, hold on, we should do My Body Tells Me No just to give a nod to that first record, because this record and this particular song, just as Fran said, it is us really striving to break through the mud of the walls we put up, and breaking through and getting back to the joy of being creative together and trying to spread that out into the world, or that feeling out into the world. And that's the hope, is that when people come to see us play these songs, they feel that joy, because it's just such a dark time right now. We're feeling the heaviness, and we want to bring the lightness to ourselves first and foremost. That was the doing this record, and then the goal is that people feel that it resonates through people. And so that's one lyric that's a nod to that first record.
Young the Giant, thank you so much for joining us in The Hardest Part.
Thanks for
Thank you.
Living in a house that's not your home. Living on a prayer you used to know. Giving to the way, but don't let go. Don't let go. I'm hanging from a chandelier. I have a dream I disappeared, but I woke up. I can't take the mind control. My heart, my body tells me no. You told me once, not long ago, but I okay, I go all of the way down, all of the way down, all of the way down.
Thanks for tuning in to The Hardest Part. If you enjoyed the show, please do rate and review, and you can check out our entire back catalogue of interviews, features and sessions on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We're on all major streaming platforms. We'll catch you next time.